All right, so on to more fun things. AVEVA reports for operations. So here at AVEVA, I manage a few products. I'm one of the product managers. I work with Ernst under John Caduce. We're in the operation control group. My mic is not working. So I'll speak louder. All right. So AVEVA reports for operations. They're one of the products that's included in operations control. So if you have that, whatever package you get, whether it's the Edge or the supervisory, it's included as that package. You can also still purchase it independently. For those who don't know, it's actually Dream Report. We're actually acquiring that technology from them. So we're working with them to develop some new ongoing technologies. But anybody familiar with Dream Report already? You guys using it already? Cool. All right. Well, we liked it so much we decided to buy it. So here we are. So in a reporting package, what do you need? So you effectively need to collect your data. You need to process that data and then present it in some meaningful manner. And we realize there's other products that do that. SQL reporting services can do that from Microsoft. Crystal Reports can do that. Other things, other packages have these reporting capabilities. You can even build homegrown things that people develop, taking data from sources, processing it, and presenting it. One of the key things that we like about AVEVA Reports for Operations is that it's built for this industrial market. It's built to connect to the things that we connect to, like PLCs, like other products like VT SCADA or PCView, all these other capabilities designed to connect directly to them using those particular protocols that they developed. So you don't need to develop your own driver, you don't need to work on that communication. It's all built into this off the bat. Check boxes, configure your information, you're good to go. There's over 120 drivers included on the system. They're all supported. Another thing we have is the ability to do manual data entry. So there's multiple ways to process this, and I'll talk a little bit about the viewing of it, but there's a static report, so that you can also have a web form, so that if there's any other information that needs to be corrected, maybe something needs to be adjusted on your batch report, that can all be done here, and records of it are kept for regulatory compliance purposes. But it's a really powerful tool. So that's the gathering of the data. And so then we have the processing of the data. And this is really where AVEVA Reports shines. So when you take that information, you have to be able to do something with it in order to make it meaningful. So whether it's an end of a batch, you need to be able to process your average temperatures or flow rates. All these things would have to be calculated using other forms. But this is all done via checkboxes. It's aware of the things that we need to process, and we've already done those calculations for you. Things like statistic processing controls, all those things are all built into the system. You want to show your graphs, you want to do that information, it's all built into the system there. Again, it's aware of batch awareness, and we're enhancing that capability with this next release. But once you set up your batches, you can say, what's the integral of this flow rate of that batch, or your average temperature, or any sort of high deviations of certain processes are all built into this. And they're all just shown via checkboxes. And I'll show you what that looks like a little bit later. But it's really the real powerful tool of this product. Things like alarm management. Right, there's alarms that have to be dealt with, and you have to process that, and then you take some meaningful actions. Part of this S18.2 standard is taking that alarm information and making it actionable items, and making use of that data, not just having nuisance alarms and just the alarms go in and they go away. So be able to take that information and then even write back to an HMI. So you take that and maybe do the processing or any sort of averages you want to do and write back to the HMI or historian. That can also be done through this as well. Another thing with the alarm data, taking that alarm information and gathering it and making it meaningful and processing that back to your source is also really powerful. So here's an example, just classic alarms, you have a temperature alarm, all these other things that they happen and they kind of go away, or maybe you use them for a record keeping or any sort of regulatory compliance that way. But take that same information and make use of it and make it meaningful. So you could look, what are your average temperature or average alarms across shifts? Maybe one shift has a lot of critical alarms. Maybe what's going on there? You need to be able to investigate that and maybe take action on that. And this is all done via checkboxes, drop-ins, and no scripting is required for any of this. So that's the processing of the data. So then how do we present this information? Well, we have a couple different ways, or a variety of ways. Static reports are pretty classic. What's that? The PDF reports. Send them off, you generate them, put them in a storage, maybe send them off to a regulatory compliance person or whatever, an agency. Then all that has to be done. That's all just kind of run rate stuff. That's designed, it does that really great. We also have the ability to do things like having a web server. So you want to interact with this information. If you want to take the forms, maybe change some data. You want to maybe generate a new report based off of a different timescale that you've done before. It's all done through the web portal. Things like e-signatures are also handled here as well. So you may have a regulatory compliance that has for e-signatures. A lot of life sciences capabilities have that. We have 4 nested levels of e-signatures. So the report's done, first person gets notified, they come into the portal, they sign it, goes to the next person, another record is kept of that person signing it, and you can go back and take a look and see what the status is of each report for that purpose. So here's sort of the interface here. So we have the left-hand side is all the various reports that you can see, and those are all the various iterations of those reports on the right. So you can take a look at these various static reports. So again, look at your static reports, or create dynamic ad hoc versions of those reports. So say these are the end of batch report, but I'm going to look and see what it's like right now, or whatever. It can all be generated dynamically if you want to. Other content can be brought in, little trends or whatever, and some of the hyperlinks can be set up for these particular devices or particular readings. So you have your high temp readings. This is the minimum, maximum, average. Well, that's what the minimum was. What are all the readings? I want to take a look and see what was my range here. So you can click on it and then take that and maybe even export it out. Maybe create a trend or process it any other way. Within the web server, we have the ability to take external content. This is some information that's brought in from Insight. If anybody users use that, you can take that data there. You can also take the information that's available here. So this is the alarm section that we have. That can be made a separate URL and be brought into another application like OMI. Here's our built-in notification system. So if something like your e-signatures are available or ready, you would get notified there, or available externally as well. So this is a video that kind of goes over what the process is like of creating a report. And this is in near real time. But if you'd like, you could look online and take a look at this video. Of course, there's a lot of other content that you could take a look at. In this situation, we'll go over how to create a report for something connected to a historian. So we give it a name. If there's any security that we need to do, configure that. Now, all the information that is associated with historian, all the different capabilities, are also brought in as well. For other manufacturers, their content is available as well. And that's kind of the key features, that it's designed to connect to these industrial applications. You don't need to program that and build that in. It's all built in for you. So once we set it up, okay, we now have our driver configuration. We're now going to start creating the report. We're obviously going to give it a name. And we're going to do other things. There's a variety of capabilities you can do, but we'll kind of go over the time generation. We'll notice that this one is based off of a time series information. So we always generate the report at 1 p.m. or whatever. We take a look at the output. It's going to be a web, PDF, and multiples, all set up that way. So once you've got the configuration set up, we're going to start dropping in some data. So we get a statistical table, drop that in, and we say, well, what do we want this data to have? So we're going to tell it which source to connect to. So we're going to connect it to the historian connector we made. And now we start browsing the tags, set them all up there, bring them all in. You have some temperatures, flows, levels. And so that's the data that we're connecting to. And then what time series we're going to do. It's going to be fixed period. So it's say every hour for the previous hour, take this information from these tags, and these are the data that we're going to process. The maximum, minimum, the timestamps, all these capabilities within that last time. Nothing needs to be calculated. It's all just checked what you need. And then you can start doing some configuration, what the labels are going to look like, how the graph is going to look. If there's any sort of standards that you'd have, you can apply them here, colors, etc. Can all be configured that way. All right, that's it. You don't need to plug in the cells. You don't need to do anything. It's all just built in that way. You can add more capabilities. We have some trends that you can add, and this is sort of the classic connecting to a data source. Pick your pens, pick the checkboxes of what you want, flows or whatever. You don't want to get too crazy because obviously too much information on a trend isn't going to bring a lot of value, but you can still take that data and bring it in. And in runtime, you can also export that data as well, if you want to. So there we go. Change your pen colors, kind of run rate stuff for trending. There's that, what the y-axis is going to look like. This is all. You notice that there's no scripting here. This is all just configuration, drop downs, and stuff like that. And we're going to add another thing, which is sort of a digital thing, digital displays, pump status, stuff like that is all just brought in here. I think we skip ahead a little bit. There we are. Another thing we have available are the ability to have templates for your corporation. So you have a specific standard that you want to apply. So now we've created this here, and now we will have a certain standard because this is what our company logo is going to look like or whatever. You can create that ahead of time and then apply those standards to various reports that way. So here we're going to apply that standard there, look it up. This is my AVEVA demo. Now that standard is applied. And that's it. That was all the development that's required for all this reporting information. So this is our runtime environment. It's running there. We're going to say, okay, well, it's going to run every hour, but we want to generate a static one or an ad hoc one. So we just generate that, and there's a report. No scripting. All the data and all the values are available there. So this is the static report. Now we want to open up the web portal. And in this particular machine, we haven't done it before, so we're going to configure IIS automatically. And that's done there. And once that's done, we can start opening up the portal. Now security can be applied, but we didn't necessarily apply it here, so we're just going to log in. and run it. And so there's the static report that we generated, but we also generated dynamic reports, so the ability to create a dynamic report. So now we'll take that same report, but now we want to change the time scale that it's at. So we set the time that we're going to use and apply that, and then generate a new report. You notice on the right side, it generated a new version of the report there, so you can keep all the records available, and that's what it looks like there. Here is the interactable one. So we go to the web, and then we can start interacting with these trends because we made it available. Now this can obviously be disabled if you want to. If you want to keep everything static, that can all be managed that way. Here's how we export some information from that trend. If you wanted to maybe make it available in CSV to do some other processing for some other reports that you want to do, or just play with the data that way. So that was it. So that's how you create it, generate it, and present it. So some of the things that we're adding for this next release that's coming out very soon is that we've consolidated all of our AVEVA drivers. We've also added full support for the Pi capabilities. So if you're running Pi out there and you have your reporting capabilities there, we added all the asset framework, the classic historical values, alarm capabilities, as well as the event frame support. And event frames is what we focused on this time. In order to do that, we have nested batching capabilities because event frames, the nature of it is that there's nested batches. So we had to add that capability within reports. And we've done that, pretty proud of that. This kind of goes over some of the details of what a nested batch looks like. So maybe you have one whole batch, but then there's sub-processes within that, and they're all contained within, and you can generate reports all dynamically, automatically, according to whatever structure you set up. And there we are. Kind of fun stuff there. So as I mentioned earlier, we're partnering with Ocean Data Systems to acquire the IP for reports. So this is sort of our timeline of what we're going to look at in the future. We're going to start adding our common identity, so it's going to fit in with operations control. So you have that one login and you're like that one identity across all the products. It's automatically licensed for you, et cetera. And then we're working on the ability to be able to publish reports to the cloud. So right now you'd have the ability to publish reports on static, on site, but also giving you the option of also sending those reports to our cloud environment so you could look at them in Insight or whatever to be able to have that extra level of accessibility. Just kind of other stuff there. And then beyond that, we're going to start working on a runtime in the cloud. So if you have data in Data Hub or Insight, you want to be able to report off of that information and keep that information in the cloud, we have the ability to run that in the cloud as well. And then beyond that, that's sort of next level stuff. We're working on development in the cloud as well. So with that, I thank you very much. And moving on to Alcanza, I think. Thank you.